Hey, welcome everybody back to another episode of Let's Set the Tone. The last time I was able to do one of these, it was last year. There's your grandpa joke. But happy New Year to everybody. I hope all the holidays and I hope all the New Year was good to everybody. I know that I can tell you it's been really busy around here. It was definitely kind of a mix how we played the actual season this year. We had, a lot of things going on kind of on the weekends, and with the holiday falling in the middle of the week, it's kind of weird to plan stuff, but we kind of played it low key. And for the most part on the specific actual holidays, we stayed kind of home and just kind of chilled, and that was kind of nice, I suppose, at that point. But it's when you're in this state, when you're dealing with weather, or I get really bad seasonal depression and holiday. I think it's from the 14 years of retail work. I get like this just complete hate and depression during the holidays. So for me, it's probably best that I'm not around people. But either way, here we are. So, but either way, it's a new year, and I can tell you right now that I've been really trying to hammer out more actual content the best that I can, and hopefully moving forward, that's going to be able to happen as well. So, and I'll talk about more of that, of course, at the end. But just trying to get in the swing of things right now. Just kind of out of the holidays with the new year. I feel kind of refreshed, ready to go. Been doing a lot of work here, painting, setting up stuff over here for some figures, some dio work. Like I am this close to being ready to start really diving into my lore and the actual new world that I'm building as I'm kind of moving away from the 118 into the 112 now. So, but I'll continue to talk about that later. So I could sit here and probably blah 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 all day. So, hello chat. I do want to bring in, of course, my guest here as well. None other than Auto. Excuse me, I can't even get it right. Outer Multiverse, and I'm trying to get my words out. But welcome, Outer Multiverse, to Let's Set the Tone, dude. I'm so glad to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be able to have you on here as well. I always ask everybody when it comes to their names, do you have? I know some people around seem to call you Outie, but do you have any AKAs or any other nicknames that maybe either we don't know or sometimes people call you?
I mean, I do, but I mean, nobody would know or like online in
Yeah, it's
this
like
this.
that space. Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean, it's not anything crazy, but people used to call me, not like I said, this is not crazy, but people used to call me B Rob and
okay.
uh, Brian Rob 74 because those were handles that I had
Ah,
on
yeah,
various other things way back in the day. But yeah, um,
gotcha.
anyway.
Cool, cool. All right. What do you prefer? Do you prefer by going by your first name, or are you fine with everybody calling you Outer Multiverse?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not like I don't have my name on there, so it's like
right.
people can call me Brian or they can call me Audi, Outer Multiverse, whatever they want to call me. It's fine. It doesn't matter to me one way or the
All
other.
right. Right on, right on, right on. So really the first thing that I want to ask you is actually specifically about Outer Multiverse. Like, where did that name kind of come from? Or like how did you come up with that as kind of like your at least Instagram handle?
Well, I was basically I have like an original Instagram that is like my personal one that
Yeah.
I've had for like a long time, and it's mostly just personal stuff, my family, kids, me, and then there's scattered in there food, beer, comics, that type of stuff,
Yeah.
toys. And so I was wanting to think of a name to create an Instagram where I could like start taking pictures of my action figures and stuff, right? Because I finally got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to do it on my personal one just because it's my personal one and I've done it, pretty much like for so long as just what it was. It's like I want to create
Right.
something, brand new and start there and go from there. I was seeing a few people that were like, world building and stuff like that, like Empire Toy Works, and stuff like that. And I was like, that's kind of seems cool. And so I was following a few people like that, and I'm sure, a few people that I do now from way back in the day. But I was trying to come up with a name, and sometimes I get really hung up on trying to do something that's kind of permanent and so I'll
Yep.
drag my feet for a very long time. And so I was like, how can I, potentially do something with action figures where it will, encompass everything I kind of want to do,
Right.
because I have a lot of sort of fandoms that I'm like collecting, and so I eventually just said, you know what, I'll just call it Outer Multiverse, and at that time too, I think maybe the Avengers movies had just kind of like ended. And so I'm like, man, that's going to be the next thing. How you explain it all is the multiverse. That's how they're
Mm-hmm.
everything they want to do from now on is the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that was kind of the name I came up with, because I was like, I can't think of anything that's like super permanent that I really want to, that's just going to like stick for everything I'm doing, And so I just sort of went with that.
Yeah. No, that's I love that. And I can tell you I'm the same way too. I get hung up on stuff when it comes to naming things. And I think one of the reasons why I always gravitated to your name, there's a lot of great names out there for people that call themselves or what they do or whatever, is because of the fact, like you kind of said, like multiverse to me, like that kind of encompasses a lot of things. That's pretty layered as well too. Like outer multiverse kind of sounds maybe even a little existential in some ways as well too. But like as somebody who's a fan of a lot of things and deep into a lot of different nerddoms, like it really made sense in my brain in that sense. So
And
that's cool. All
And
right.
so I guess one of the things was, it's like when I first started this Instagram account, I had really no idea like how I was going to, which direction I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just trying to leave a little bit of room to. I know you can change your name on there, but
Right.
I was really overthinking it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I like took me 3 weeks, to figure out like what I wanted to call it. You know what I'm saying? And so I eventually went with what we have now.
Yeah. There you go. I love it. Perfect. Now you've seemed to be a huge fan of the weather up here and the snow that we're getting. So would you like me to ship you some?
No, man, I'm really good. We've talked, I guess, online about how I could not live at a place that's
Right.
like winter for 9 months out of the year, man. I just can't do it.
I get it. I get it. I just it's funny. It always makes me laugh how because like you have such passion and disdain for when we talk about this weather up here. It's so funny. It always makes me laugh. And just so
Uh,
you know, we're hitting sub-zero temps next week. We're gonna be -15 potentially on Tuesday. So pretty
okay,
scary.
well, we're probably close to you because we're probably gonna be in the 30s.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw. Yeah, so there's like three like big blasts of cold air coming down right from the Arctic, and it's gonna. You guys even potentially could see some snow in parts of your region down there,
So
even.
yeah,
So pretty
we
wild.
had actually a little bit of snow yesterday, but not like anything to stick. But it was like
Sure.
spitting some like big old chunky flakes, man. And at first I was like, "Did somebody spit at me?" Because I was working, and I was loading out of a bay door, and I was like, "Did somebody like spit?" And
That's
I got up in
hilarious.
the truck, and I was looking at somebody walk past, and he's like, some of it sort of fell past the guy, and he's like, looked up at me. I'm like, dude, I didn't spit. That's actual snow. He's like, I thought you spit at me. I'm like, no, man,
You
that's
both
snow.
thought somebody spit at you. That's great. That's
But
great.
yeah,
That's
but it
hilarious.
was just 70 like 4 days ago.
Yeah, man. That's how it works up here. It'll be
You
70
know,
degrees one day, and the next day it'll be 30. It's
right?
you're getting our weather. I do want to at least go out to the chat real quick here and just
Yeah, yeah,
recognize.
yeah.
Appreciate everybody coming through here. Before we kind of really dive in. So, of course, Famine, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. We were hanging out painting last night in Discord. Had a blast doing that. And of course, Bjorn actually was there too last night. Good to see you,
Bjorn,
dude. Yep, I know he's working today. And of course, the one and only Beta Ray Bob. Beta Ray Bob. I cannot talk today. I think too many drinks last night. That's what I'm going with. Good to see you, dude.
he's my
Appreciate you.
co-host.
Yep, the co-host, the one and only, right? Abby, hi
Yep.
Abby, good to see you.
Hey,
Also being deviant with us last night in the
Abby,
Discord. One and only Lord of Thane, who just
Angus.
joined the Discord. Good to
He
see you,
was in
man.
there too, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's awesome
I
being
would
able
have
to.
gotten in there a little bit last night, but when I have the kids on the weekends, it's kind of hard for me to like tear away and do stuff.
Totally can understand, man. That's you guys. When you get the families, it's a lot of stuff going on there. So, Lord of Things says, "Hey, the outer multiverse in my mind is like the outer rim of the multiverse, where the multiverse scum and villainy go, and even Loki can't see it." The head
Awesome.
canon. I love the head canon. I'm into that sort of
Yes.
stuff. Lore is
Yes.
Lore is what I'm all about. So, kind of really start diving in. So as far as a young outer multiverse, as far as school goes, did you enjoy school? Were you somebody who's like, man, I love doing this every day. I love the homework. I love the academics or any of that?
So, where I grew up, I didn't really live close to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
because I kind of lived out on the outskirts of town. I would guess you would call it almost the country, you know. And so I didn't live in a neighborhood or anything like that. And so going to school, man, I got to see people,
Right.
you know. And I liked school for the most part. I mean, it was fine. I definitely like to go for the interactions. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Early on and stuff like that, and then yeah, it was not a chore for me. I mean, I went to a small school. It
Same.
was like the pretty much the class that I was in was like 200 people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like not a whole real lot
Sure.
of people, and so and we got along mostly everybody together at that school. So, but
Right.
no, it was a fun time for me.
Yeah.
Of course, my kids now are like, one of them's in high school, and I'm like, dude, it's like it is nothing like what it was when I was in school. I mean, just it's just so different these days.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I had a good time in school. Probably didn't make the best grades, but
No, I was gonna ask. Okay.
I was probably like an average, like I don't know, like maybe a B student, something like that.
Yeah, that's good.
I had some A's, some B's, and C's, and maybe a D or two here or there, just depending on, like I sucked at algebra and stuff like that. Right, I just
Same.
that like the advanced math, any of the algebras, geometry, and those type of things. I was just not very good with it. Mixing letters with numbers, I was terrible.
When you start getting in some of the fractions and beyond, I even start struggling. That's where I start struggling real fast. So
Yeah.
I completely understand that. Did you have a favorite subject at all?
Well, it was definitely not English because my English is terrible to this day. But I like history.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably one of my favorite subjects, just because that type of stuff. You pretty much learn your whole life. Whether you were in school or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, history was probably my favorite. Um, I did like, some of the sciences as well. I just was not, I just did like, if you were to ask all my teachers what they would probably say about little Audi is that he did not probably apply himself as well as much as he should. Like he can do all this, but
Right.
he does not apply himself the way he should, and so anyway, but yeah,
Advantage.
yeah, it's I liked history and some of the sciences and
Yeah.
the extracurricular classes. So
Yeah. Yeah. All the fun stuff. Okay. Were you well behaved? Did you get in trouble in school at all, or?
yeah, I probably so I'm old enough where I got paddled a few times,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they don't really do that anymore.
Right.
But some of it was not really my fault. Some of it was. But yeah, I was good. I was never suspended or anything like that. And I was kind of an asshole a few times to some people, in classes back in the day, just because I did stupid kid shit that you do that you're not really thinking about things. But for the most part, I mean, I was a good kid, and I didn't cause anybody any problems
No.
or anything like that. Yeah.
What was the one thing that you may have done that was deserving of that paddling you got?
Um, well, I mean, honestly, I don't really feel like I deserved it, but we didn't do an assignment for this one class, or I
Right.
didn't do an assignment. And I could probably tell you a million reasons why I didn't do it. Maybe I don't know, whatever. Maybe it was legit, maybe it's not. But everyone who didn't do it had to go and get a couple licks from the principal's office. And I'm like, seriously?
Dang.
It's this serious? You know what I'm saying? And so,
Right.
and that was one I straight up just okay. Maybe I deserved it, maybe I didn't. But there was a few. There was one I got that I definitely didn't deserve. It's like my first day in this new school. We're in PE, and PE has basketballs, soccer balls. They're just all lying on the floor. I see some kids over there like bouncing basketballs and stuff. I go over there too, have one in my hand, kind of bouncing it. And the PE teacher comes in. It's like, all right, everybody who's got those balls in your hand, come down here. You're getting a paddling. And I'm like, what the, and
What the fuck?
I'm like, this is my first. I guess up. I said, dude, this is my first day. He's like, well, you won't pick up a ball again next time we. I'm like, whatever, man. I mean, it's not like they were like
Dude,
swinging
that's
fences, but it's like still, it's like, really, my first day,
dude, dude, I was born in '79, and that never happened in my school, like at any time. So I
Oh,
don't
dude,
think you're far off from me at all. That's
they
wild.
the teachers that pretty much everybody had a paddle in every class, pretty much
What?
where I went to school.
That's
Yeah,
that's pretty great. And I grew up really rurally too. I had 28 people in my graduating class, so I can definitely get it. But like,
yeah.
that's pretty wild. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
was. I mean, like I said, nothing scarring or anything, but it was like
Yeah.
that's still. I will never forget that. It's like I'm like that's just like being at the wrong place at the wrong time, man.
Right. That's still pretty wild just for picking up a ball. Fair enough. Okay. How was like growing up for you overall? I mean, pretty good fun childhood. You move around a lot, or are you pretty stationary, like in kind of where you
No,
grew up?
my parents actually still live in the house that I grew up in,
Oh yeah.
and that was the only one for me. I transferred to a different a school district because my parents didn't really want me going to this one school because they had heard some bad things about it.
Right.
But I eventually ended up graduating from that school because somehow they found out about it. But it was no issues. I mean, I had no issues. It was school was fine growing up. The only problem with where I lived is there wasn't a lot of kids, and
Right.
so that was the only kind of negative. Was I mean, there was about a kid about a mile away, and so that would kind of be the closest sort of friend that I could get to at times.
Right. So hence why going to school was so great because hey, you got to hang out with people and
Yeah,
stuff then too.
pretty
It's the
much. Like
same. Same.
when I went early in my early years, like until the fifth grade, I was my parents had dropped me off at my grandparents' house, and I'd go to school like in that district, and there was like kids in the neighborhood, and so I got to play with those kids until like the middle of the fifth grade, and then after that, that's when I ended up going to the school I finished, and that's where there was like not a whole lot of people like out and about.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Well, so as far as being a kiddo, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can always get into. I'm sure you were probably a cartoons '80s kid like I was in some way. So, what like as far as kind of the cartoons that you gravitated to the most, like their top three maybe that you can feel like that. Man, these are my jam, or were you pretty much into all of them?
I was into a lot of them, I guess, but the main ones was probably like GI Joe and Transformers. Those are probably
Right.
like the top two. I watched most everything. Growing up, like everybody else did in that time. But those two were the ones that probably were like the two closest to my heart. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Um, and I think the like Joe's probably kind of continued some for you as well too, right?
The GI Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's like for me, it's like you know, just you know, Transformers and GI Joe were the two ones that I watched the most. But I watched all the other stuff too, like Thundercats, He Man. I watched a lot of those type of shows as well.
All the good stuff, all the good stuff. Transformers was a big one for me as well too. He-Man was huge. He-Man was one of my all-time faves too. So, all right, great, great. Now as far as like as a kid, like at that kind of age, what did you have for like hobbies? I think comics has been something that you've talked about a few times as well too, but like, as far as like actual hobbies, maybe like, were you a kid that drew? Did you, go outside and play in the woods? Like, what did that look like for you?
I would probably say that I guess maybe the early days was um, I guess probably collecting comics was probably the first big hobby I had. I mean, I don't think you can really consider playing action figures really a hobby, or anything like that. But it's like,
Nowadays, though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is now. It is now for sure. But in those days, probably, yeah, probably collecting comics was like the first big hobby for me. I mean, I played sports and stuff, but I wouldn't really consider that a hobby. And
Hmm.
um, that was, playing video games, Nintendo and all that. But it's like, yeah, the comic books was probably the first thing I got into where I'm like, okay, I gotta go next week to keep continuing this, to keep getting this, book or whatever, or books to keep it going. And that was the first thing I really started collecting. So yeah, that was probably
Yeah.
it.
Right, right. So and so you were definitely into the video games as well too. So you like Nintendo? I mean, do you even play games now? I feel like we've talked a little bit about this not long
Yeah,
ago.
I do. I grew up with an Atari.
Right?
I
Yeah. So I
know,
started too. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I had an Atari, and then I got a Nintendo. Just like a lot of people did.
Yeah.
That was, the Atari was awesome, but it's like the Nintendo was just like next level, right? Because
Right.
it was like you could do so much more. And I played that for years and years, and I was lucky to get it. And then I've bought various systems throughout the ages, just like most everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I had a PlayStation, I had a Sega, Sat or Dreamcast. I
Ooh. Yeah.
a lot of those things. And the past 15 years or so, I gravitated towards Xbox. And so I've been like pretty much hardcore Xbox
Gotcha.
for that long a time. And I don't have the newest Xbox. I'm still playing the Xbox One. However, it's like it's one of those things where I'm at the point now to where I don't play near as much as I used to,
No time.
'cause just don't have the time. And I just, games are a lot different these days. There's no like, story driven games really. It's pretty much all like, you know, co op, story driven stuff. And it's like, um, it's for me, it's fine, but it's just. I was just talking to my son about this actually like 30 minutes ago. We were talking about how he's got the newest Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "If I had to play it by myself, I probably wouldn't play the Xbox." I'm like, "Dude, that's all we used to do when we were kids. And we would play it, and because there was only like single player,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I do like the fact that you can like jump in and stuff and play with people these days. It's it was cool for a while. Like when I first found online gaming and stuff,
Mid 2000s. Yeah, man. It was all
I was
co-op
like
and online.
all into it. That was
Yeah.
like a new world for me.
Mm-hmm.
And but now it's just like I'll play when I can, but it's mostly older games that I'm playing because I don't have the newest system. So
I get it. I get it. I'm gonna be that guy when you want story-driven games. You unfortunately you just have to kind of go with Sony on that one. I have a
yeah,
PS5. I
yeah,
prefer first-person kind of story-driven games.
yeah,
Not first-person like shooting or anything like that, but that kind of narrative, I guess. And I do have a PC that can actually do some good stuff finally as well. So PC definitely is a good spot for, of course, a plethora of it. But the problem
right,
is now, kind of like we saying, like when it comes to time, like for me, I literally, as a big gamer as I used to be, I've just decided to spend my time doing, this hobby, working on
yeah,
content creation or playing with figures and painting them. So I'd rather kind of do that now. I've been working on a game. I've got 60 hours into Ghosts of Yote on PS5 that I've been doing for probably 2 months, and I'll probably beat it sometime in the next 5 years. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. That's for me is I'll get into I guess a little bit of patterns to where I'll go back to a game.
Hmm.
Like some of the games I'm playing like right now. I'm playing the Division Two. Um,
Pretty cool.
it, it's pretty much been out for like 7 years, I think, or
Hmm.
something like that. But
Yep,
it's
it
like
has.
I played the first one, loved it, and so every once in a while I'll go back to either Division Two or Destiny Two, and jump in for a little bit, and I'll get my feel, for after playing it for a few months,
Yeah,
whatever, and then I'll just jump out for a while and either not play or wait on something else. But
totally, totally get it.
I do have a PlayStation 4, um, but I or maybe it's a three. I don't know. I've got one of them in the living room that we pretty much use as a streaming device. But
Yeah.
I do have a Sony in the house, but I think it might be a four. But anyway, it's just something that I've really just, I when I bought it, like I'm gonna play some games, and then just end
Mhm.
up not doing it. So anyway, time is a
Totally.
factor. You know,
Totally get it. Totally get it. And I flip back and forth. I got both the Xbox and PlayStation, and I don't touch the Xbox much because like I said, I've just always been more of a story driven kind of guy.
yeah,
That being said, it's also hard not to have a PlayStation right now because, like, I don't know if you've played the new Spider-Man games. Then we got this Wolverine game coming out. And it's like, as comic fan too, like it's hard
yeah.
not to have those because you got to play them. So,
Yeah, yeah. I
highly,
have a
highly
friend of mine,
recommend.
and he's like, "Dude, you have got to play the Spider-Man game."
It's
I'm like,
unreal,
I know. It's
unreal.
just, hard for me to pull the trigger on stuff
Yeah,
sometimes.
or
But
play well, because let's be honest, we got to save our money for repurposing for other things in life, like I don't know, large pre-orders on toys. So
yeah,
that's
pretty
how I
much.
look
Yeah,
at it.
that is, yeah,
Yep.
or other real life stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that too. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I know that we were kind of even talking about it before the show. Have you always been like kind of a dinosaur fan as well too? Because it's funny because the satellite of like the World Makers Consortium, like it seems like everybody for the most part is pretty much into dinosaurs, and I think that you and me are also kind of like we're the dino fans, but not all of us can be like Famine and Abby that can know the DNA of them. But you're a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
big
yeah.
fan too, right?
So here's the thing. I am more of a dinosaur fan now than I probably have ever been in my life, right? And
Hmm.
so, because when I came up, you really didn't have any. I mean, you had a couple of dinosaur toys here and there. You had Transformers. They had,
Right.
they turned into dinosaurs, stuff like that. But for the most part, the Dinobots, right? Of
Oh
course,
yeah.
huge Transformer, dinosaurs, right? Those were awesome. But it's like you didn't have a Jurassic Park at that point in time. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so by the time Jurassic Park came out, I was well into my 20s, so I wasn't playing with toys anymore or anything like
Mhm.
that. And so I missed that whole Jurassic Park toy, vibe of having those, right? And since I've got back into action figures, that has been something that I've, sort of split some time with is going back and trying to get into the dino, life a little bit, and Hammond Collection and Creative B Studios definitely feels that itch, for me.
I get it, and I feel like I mean, I always kind of a dino guy for, long time as well. I feel like, but man, ever since Zilla put those Hammond collection dinos in my hand, it was like a trigger. Like I've even told you before, like I've seen them, I've had them in my hand, I've debated, I'm like, I'm gonna buy this, am I gonna use it? Like I've had to, and again, it's because I'm always repurposing for priorities or other things that I got pre-orders as well too. So it's just it's tough because they're a great figure too. Like they're a really great figure. And then if you get those Target clearances, what'd you get that guy today for?
12 bucks.
$12 for a Stego. Yeah, let's show
Yes,
that. Show
I
that
just
Stego.
walked up. I just got it like an hour ago. I just was happened to just walk in Target just to see if they had anything new on the shelf,
Crazy.
and um, it just sometimes you have luck.
Yeah, yeah, you do. You do. So Star Wars, I know, is also pretty big for you as well. Was that from an early age as a kid, or when did that
Oh
kind
yeah,
of like?
that's in my DNA right there.
Okay,
It's
that's
like
in your DNA.
I was in the theater as a real little kid when my parents watched Star Wars,
Wow.
and I'm not sure it was. They replayed it like another time around, so I don't know if it was actually the opening, time, or it was like a year later or whatever. But I remember being in a theater, at least going into the theater and seeing Star Wars posters on the wall and stuff. But I couldn't tell, I was like, I don't remember anything like watching the movie itself, but it's, you know, yeah, it's in my DNA. My mom and dad both like Star Wars, and so that was a big thing for me growing up. Man, it was a huge like cornerstone of
Yeah.
like my life.
So you were there
pretty
then,
much.
you're
You know,
saying for 77 for A New Hope, or well, back then they even called it A New Hope, I don't believe, right? It was just Star Wars.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in the theater for whenever they played it. It was either it was 77. I don't think it was 77 because I was three then, but
Okay.
it's like I think they played it like lit for that. Like I had another playing maybe like 6 months or a year
Yeah.
later, came back in the theaters, and I was there for one of those two. I don't remember which, but my parents can't really remember at this point in time. But yeah, that was I remember watching the movie, of course, that, as I got a little bit. But anyway, yeah, they were the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen them all in the theater, and so I'll try to go back to catch them in the theater whenever they show, another time, and like
Hmm.
recently and stuff. But yeah, big time fan of Star Wars.
Are you pro or con with the special editions that were done in the early 90s or mid 90s that George Lucas threw out there?
I mean, when you were a kid, you ate that stuff up, right? Because you got
Hmm.
like new stuff,
Hmm.
new footage or whatever, right? And for me now, I kind of prefer the original,
Yeah.
like the unaltered, movies. But I don't have a problem with them. It's just if I'm going to watch them, I'd rather watch the non special editions.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I know in I think it was 2004, 2005, they released a DVD set, double disc DVD set of the original trilogy that had original cuts,
yep,
theatrical, and then also the special editions. And I was one of the few that actually picked them all up. And I know for a long time at least they were pretty hard to find in that. Now, I think there's parts of the special editions that I do like, but there's
yeah,
definitely a couple things I really hate. And I know it's very cliche to say, but the Han shot first scenario, like that whole thing's ridiculous. That shouldn't have been touched. Like that's so stupid.
yeah,
Um, that's just ridiculous, right? But the Jabba scene was also a little too much just because, did not age well even then, I
right,
feel like. I
yeah,
get what they
yeah,
were trying to do, but like I don't know. I think it was not really necessary. So I think some of the stuff that was cool is like when you get to see all the X wings outside of Yavin, like getting ready to do the attack and everything like that. I think some of that stuff is kind of neat, but I don't know. Yeah, I kind of
yeah.
prefer the original ones.
It's like I said, I'm sort of the same way.
Yeah.
I don't, it's just something I think they wanted to try to just touch up. I honestly think they wanted to like, get another round of dollars coming in,
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, it's cool. I just, it's kind of like anything else. It's either you kind of like it
Hmm.
or it's not really a big fan of it. But it's
Right.
it's either it's okay either way.
So now that we know that it's your DNA, so literally apparently you might have been in a test tube in the Skywalker Ranch is what I'm finding out. So um
Maybe.
maybe, right? Why can
Yeah.
you rank the Star Wars trilogies from top, like number one, two, three?
As far as like the
Favorite, like love
trilogy
or like
goes,
yeah, the trilogies.
so I will always put A New Hope number one,
Hmm.
just because it's what started it all for me.
Hmm.
You know, I know a lot of people say that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But it's not my number one just because of Star Wars is what started it. It's my number two.
Hmm.
Just because it's such a good movie. I mean, but I just feel like the original should always be the number one. You know.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay.
But for me, as far as like ranking all the movies in the trilogies, or just like the trilogies is what
So
rank.
yeah, so let's original trilogy, prequel, sequel.
Okay,
How do you rank
so in the
those?
original trilogies, I would say one, two, and three is how I'd have them ranked. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
I go back to the prequels. I'd probably say three, two, one.
Okay.
Is how I like those.
Okay.
And because I just was not a real big fan of Phantom Menace. I don't get me wrong, I don't hate it or anything like that, and I still love it. But it's just like, and it was great watching it in the theater. But it's like after sort of step back, and it's it was just the other two are like, for me, they got more action, so and
Hmm.
that sort of drives it a little bit for me. But anyway, I'd go 3, 2, 1 on that one, and then on the sequels, I would probably say, I don't know, 1, 3, 2. I don't know. It's the Force Awakens is probably my favorite one of the sequels, but the 2 and 3, I don't know. I could go away
Oh, it
for
sounds like
those,
we're losing you a little bit of audio. So you
but
said,
yeah.
you didn't mind Force Awaken, but 2 and 3, you kind of cut out there a little bit.
Okay, so basically, as far as the full trilogy, I'd say the Force Awakens is probably the number one for me, and then
Yeah,
2 and 3 can like flip flop either way.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah, okay.
You know.
See, are you not a fan? I know it's this important question to ask all Star Wars fans, I feel like, but how do you feel about the sequel trilogies as a whole?
It's I like them. I just, you know, it's not like I'm gonna say I hate them or anything like that because I don't. But I felt like, you know, they really the worst thing about it was I don't think they've had like a cohesive storytelling arc for all three movies. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
That's the
I
biggest
think they
problem with them
just
all, yeah.
yeah, I think they just kind of like just kind of did what they did, just trying to say, okay, well, we know it's Star Wars. People are going to love these movies, because it's got Star Wars on it, and so it's I don't know. It could have been better. Could have been worse. But
Hmm.
um, I don't think they deserve the hate that they get, though. So,
That's
Rogue
a
One is like one is in my Rogue One is in my top five of Star Wars movies, though.
Rogue
I'll
One's
say
in my
that because
top three, so I feel that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm a huge
yeah.
fan.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
great one. I mean, I love Solo. I like that one a
yeah,
lot too.
I
Um,
honestly, I say that Ron Howard saved that movie because I believe he did
yeah,
80% reshoots on that, and
yeah,
it got. I mean, that
yeah.
could be a
It's
long
it's
topic
such
we
a
talk about
it's
all the
such
time,
a
but
fun movie,
it
though.
really is.
It's a fun movie.
It feels like a Star Wars movie to me.
Yeah,
That's why I think I like that so much. And Ron Howard's a big Star Wars guy. And now look at Bryce, his daughter,
I
who
know, I
does
know.
directing in some of these episodes, and her
Yeah,
episodes are some of the best in Mando.
I know,
I
I know,
give her
man.
the
It's like
keys to a movie. I want her to do a
that's
movie
right.
for
Yeah,
Star Wars, man.
I would definitely watch that in a heartbeat because it's
Yeah,
like
dude.
some of the better episodes you saw of Mando is like directed by
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard. And I'm like, boom, man, just keep doing them.
Yeah. Keep
You
doing them.
know?
I agree. I agree. And chat, I love, and I'm trying to keep up with y'all. There's a lot of great conversation. We're catching it out there too, but everybody talking about Star Wars. Of course, a lot of the people, especially around your satellite, I know are also big Star Wars fans as well too. So I don't like the sequel trilogy really hardly at all. And it's mostly just because it's storytelling wise, it's incoherent. It's not good storytelling, because like you said, there's no overall arc. But that being said, I think there's a lot of great like additions to Star Wars when you're talking about vehicles and some characters and
Yeah,
armors and stuff like
yeah,
that. There's a lot of cool things I think that they did do.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, from a storytelling standpoint, like nobody's ever going to be able to tell me that those make sense because they don't. When you go back and
yeah,
hear that they were asked by whoever at Disney said, "Hey, we need to sit down and plan a story arc for these trilogies," and they were like, "No, just get some stuff out because they wanted to get their return on it or because it was Star Wars. I don't know, but at the end of the day, like everybody goes back and forth. Yeah, okay, okay. A guy that writes material can agree and think that the sequel trilogy is good storytelling. The
So
Goonies dagger, and I mean,
two of the things. So I love. So here's the thing. I love the Force Awakens. I know a lot of people like have their feelings about it, whatever, and I'm fine with that. But it's like two things in that movie is like this just stand out to you, and I'm like, if you're doing Star Wars, how can you forget this, right? Number one, um, uh, Chewie walking past Leia after Han dies, and then she hugs Ray. You know what I'm saying? That is unforgivable. You know what I'm
it
saying?
is.
It's
You're
like
right.
how could you let that happen, right? Um, and then the other thing is, and not so much I have a problem with this because I understand they were wanting to do with Luke what they did with Yoda kind of make him the sort of crazy. But it's like Mark Hamill was basically playing, old, Mark Hamill, crazy Mark Hamill in that movie. He wasn't playing Luke Skywalker. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know he probably didn't want to do that either, but
Mhm.
anyway, it's like I said, those are two things that I kind of like. If they just would have not really done, I mean, done that, it would have been a little bit better. But either way, it's whatever. I don't make the movies, so. But yes, there's lots of like world building aspects to those
Mhm.
movies that I'm glad we got, and I
Mhm.
wish they would expand on. But
Mhm. I don't
it
think
is
they
what it
can at
is.
this point. The fan base is too all over the place on it. Like I love the First Order. A lot of the things about the First Order I thought were really cool. I know some people clown on the duck look of the stormtroopers, but I don't know. I kind of like them. Like
No, I
love
think
a lot
they're
of that
cool
stuff.
too. It's like there's not really been too many like characters or creations that I've been like that is just total dog crap. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? It's
Hmm.
like it's just all adding to the world.
Yeah.
The whole like world of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would love more of it. However, we get it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even the Disney Star Wars. I know a lot of people are not fans of that, and that's fine. It's not for everybody, but it's like I would love more of that stuff because of how I guess very how least or the less we get of it these days. It's like, we went like 10, 15 years before we got Star Wars movies. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go that long again. I'd rather see
Right.
TV, even if it's mediocre sometimes, I'd still want to just see it just to get, just access to it.
Yeah, I'm not looking for anything that's perfect. I don't expect anything perfect out of Star Wars for sure because Star Wars has never been perfect, right? All I care
Right.
about is just like if you're going to pay homage to the old stuff or or even if you're trying to walk away from it, at least do a good job of passing that torch. And I feel like that was
Yeah.
part of the problem in their storytelling in
Yeah.
those. And I'm never like
I agree.
you've seen and heard all the reports. They did not have, I don't care what anybody says, famine. They didn't have a plan for that. And it was quite obvious because when you had two different directors come in and then Abrams come back for the third and say, oh, we're not going to retcon anything, and they retcon stuff because it was so bad on the second one, and there was no real trajectory with that, and then Rian Johnson gets hold of it and goes in different directions. And hey, listen, that movie, that concept, I think would have been great, not for that trilogy. That was the problem. That existentialist they were trying to do with some of that storytelling just didn't fit that trilogy, and might not didn't fit the
Yeah.
character of Skywalker at the end of the day, right? I think that's some of the big things that, kind of feel like that the mud for me gets continually the wheel spinning in. So, I mean, we could sit
So
here, I could talk about this all day and I always do, but
yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that they should have had a closure for the original characters
yeah, I know
and
Tim Mill was
just,
saying that too.
just nipped it in the bud and then go ahead and start from that point. You know what I'm saying? I just feel
Mhm.
like they didn't really, you know, I don't know. I don't really feel like they did a great job with that. And so,
Mhm.
we can't do anything now. So it's like, it just is what it is.
Mhm. I mean, even Daisy Ridley has said she didn't even know in the third movie when they were filming it. They changed her background, who she was descended from, 2 or 3 times while filming. So nobody can tell me that they had a plan because they didn't have a plan.
Yeah,
They don't
because,
care.
going into before that movie, everybody was trying to guess who she was related to. That was the big thing before the
Yeah.
movie was, who is she related to? And everybody had all these wild accusations and stuff, and, you know, maybe they didn't even know, what I'm saying?
Mhm. I know,
So,
I know, and that's I know. I knew that was an open-ended, or probably going to be a fun combo because anytime Star Wars fans get together, I feel like this topic comes up, and I don't hate Star Wars. Clearly, I don't like. I'm just not a fan of those, and it's really difficult for me. But when they're even now, when at Batu, at Galaxy's Edge, going more to leaning into the original characters, bringing Vader in and getting moving Kylo out. That kind of tells you the legacy of those movies, and I just think the proof's in the pudding on that. But
yeah,
regardless, again, I do think there's been a lot of great things out of that trilogy that have come out. So hopefully they'll continue to
yeah,
bridge the gaps. I'm a big Ahsoka fan. I think her show the first season was it wasn't perfect, It wasn't great. I think it was close to that. I think, but overall for a Star Wars show, it was pretty good, and I'm hoping the second season is at least that good too. So,
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
watch Ahsoka?
Um, oh yeah, yeah. I've seen everything except for Resistance. I haven't watched
Me
that
either.
animated show,
Yeah.
and it's not because I don't want to watch it. I just it's just one of those things that slip through the cracks. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, I was a big hardcore Clone Wars animated show fan. I mean, I love that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I didn't really watch Rebels until um, probably after it had ended. You know, I
Oh,
watched like a
really?
few episodes. I watched a few episodes of the first season, and I'm like, man, this is just too kiddie, you know, for me. And the animated style was different from Clone Wars,
That first
and so I
season,
just couldn't
yeah.
get into it.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yep.
was. I was like, what am I watching? You know,
It's
and
it
but don't
takes
get me
about
wrong,
10
it's like,
episodes, I feel like, in that
yeah,
first season,
it
and then it
just.
starts kind of tightening
I
up.
just think I was trying to watch it after too soon after I watched the Clone Wars, you
Yeah.
know. And
Hmm.
so, anyway, I've watched Rebels, you know, a couple times since then, and I love the show. You know, definitely love the later seasons of it, man. You know, love it. And
Hmm.
anyway, I'm happy to see more of that world, being shown, as well. So,
Same. Same.
but
I'm excited.
probably my favorite though of all the Disney stuff that they've done recently is probably The Mandalorian. I mean, I could watch that all day, every day. You know, if they wanted to just make some, weak ass shows to where it's just the same stuff over and over with different characters, I
Yeah.
would so be down to watch that. You know what
Like
I'm
the old
saying?
Tales books, right? Like those.
Uh,
Could you imagine if they'd like? I mean, I know they do Tales right now, but they're doing like
yeah,
one or two characters, right? But
yeah,
did you ever read the Tales of the Empire, Tales of the
yeah.
Cantina? You remember those books?
Yeah, that's all the Star Wars you had after the
Yeah.
movies was all the novels and
Yeah,
stuff, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. I just think like something like
You know?
that, where like it's a season of like 8 episodes, and like each 40 minutes is like basically a different character and different story, kind of like what they're doing
Yeah,
now. But like, I want more characters that are like kind of like those ones where they're almost like B and C characters, because I find that really interesting,
yeah,
fleshing out characters like
yeah.
that.
Because
So
sometimes less is more. You know
yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't always want
saying?
Jedi running around personally,
That's right. That's
you know,
right. Yeah.
so. I do want to ask real quick. So you mentioned sports earlier, and I know you're in the South. Are you a big sports guy? You college football guy?
Yeah, I'm pretty much I'm a big fan. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan.
Which
Yeah,
team?
I like in this state, Arkansas, we only really have one sort of major sports team, and it's the Arkansas Razorbacks. And
Right.
so I follow them pretty religiously because they're pretty much the only sort of sports team here. And I was godfathered in by my parents watching them and stuff like that back in the day, and so I followed them pretty heavy. But I like college football, college basketball, and then I love baseball. Like baseball is my favorite sport, and so
Hmm.
I'll watch that like
Amen.
anytime, anywhere. And I don't really watch MLB too much, but we'll watch
Nice.
NFL and we'll watch NFL mainly because it's just football, and but we don't really watch a whole lot of NBA or anything like that. But
Mhm.
anyway, but yeah, I'm pretty much a big sports guy.
Okay, I kind of had a feeling that maybe you were. I know, like you said, you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. So I know in the South, of course, like when it comes to college ball, like it's pretty big. I mean, Arkansas it's a little bit different, I guess, but I suppose that there's some other teams I know down there that are like,
Yeah, I mean,
kind of
when
big.
I grew up sort of liking the Dallas Cowboys because
Yeah,
that was kind of like one of the
regionally
main.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, that and like the Atlanta Braves were like the baseball teams. That was kind
Hmm.
of like, ones I kind of grew up in. And honestly, we had WGN, which had the Cubs on every day after school. And so I kind of watched a lot of that after I got home from like junior high and high school a lot. So anyway,
Yeah.
but I love baseball. And baseball in general is like, it's my favorite sport.
Right. Right. That's all right. All right. So one of the things I've noticed is a couple of you all out in the community that I watch close or have gotten to know really well, do put music with your photos and stuff like that. And you're one of the other few that I recognize that not only do you do that, but you also seem to have a pretty good taste or at least a variety in music. I'm assuming like by what you're choosing may also be something that you like as well too. So are you pretty big into music? Is that something that, like, I know, no pun intended, but it's pretty big jam for you is music?
Yeah, it's pretty much a huge part of my life. Is I I'm kind of into a lot of everything,
Yeah.
and so back in the day, and even now, it's like that's something that goes with your emotions. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it definitely like I'm pretty emotional at times, and I feel like that a good song will like just really like kick ass. Whether it's up tempo or super slow, but it's like it's I've listened to music my whole life, grew up listening to it, had a million CDs, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. And I had my Walkman, listening to music. I'd sit outside my parents' house, as a teenager and with my Walkman, and I'd sit on the swing. I would just listen to cassettes. I'd flip over, or when I got the DVD, I mean, a CD player, I'd listen to CD player. And so, yeah, music is has a huge impact on my life.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and
What's
I try. I'm
Oh, go
trying.
ahead.
I'm not as good as like what I used to be like before I got married and stuff like that. Like I used to have like my finger like on the pulse, right, of like all the
Hmm.
new cool stuff coming out. And so now it usually hits me after it's been cool for a while, and I'm finding out about it. I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. I like that. And so I want to like sometimes infuse it into the pictures that I take, even though it
Yeah.
may not really have anything to do with the pictures. I just like the song.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do love that, and I've always kind of hit or miss and done that too throughout the years. Whether it's now at this point, of course, trying to take figure photos too, but music's always a big thing here too. So I totally get what you're saying. What is a band that's like a favorite band or maybe a favorite artist, like in your top number one, or what does that look like for you?
I when I grew up, of course, I was in the '80s, right? I was an '80s, kid or whatever, listening to all that stuff. But um, Van Halen was always like a pretty big band for me. When I
Okay,
was
wait.
growing up,
David Lee Roth or Van Hagar?
I like them both,
Okay,
honestly.
I think
You
that's
know,
that's the answer I agree with. So yeah, okay.
I mean, I like them both for what they are. I mean, I think the early portion definitely fit David Lee Roth,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
more older, sort of casual Van Halen definitely fit, Sammy Hagar for sure,
Hmm, hmm.
and then what happens after that? I don't really claim any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, anyway, after I think Gary Sharon or whoever they had singing with them for a little bit,
Hmm.
not a big fan. I'm a huge like rock fan, and but now these days it's like I'm more across the board. Like I could listen to alternative rap, pop. It just depends. Whatever sounds good to me,
Yeah,
is what I'll go with.
gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Love it, love it. And so one of the things that I know when I was on Into the Toy Box that shocked me, and I want to talk about for a moment. I know we talked a little bit then too, but I just want to kind of bring it back up. But you had called out that you recognized a lot of my books back here. You recognized the Dritz and stuff like that too. So,
For sure.
did you? So you started reading like the Dark Elf trilogy and though that series. Was that like at an early age? Were you there when they were kind of released? Like, how did that like when it come to reading for you?
So this is I don't know if anybody thinks it's a funny story or not, but so I grew up reading Dragon's Lance, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure,
Oh
you
yeah.
know what that is, right? I even named my son Tanis after Tanis Half-Elven
That's
from
right.
that series,
I love it.
right? So I was a big fan of Dragon's Lance, right?
Mhm.
That was probably the biggest like fantasy, book series at the time growing up. And so um, that was from I guess TSR released those. I'm not sure what the company was, but yeah,
Yeah.
TSR. And so
TSR. Yep.
they also made this little series called Forgotten Realms,
Mhm.
and that was
Mhm.
another series that they had made. And so one Christmas this year, for 1 year. My parents got me. They normally get me like a book for a stocking stuffer. Well, they would go and just pick up a random thing, whatever I was kind of into or whatever. And so they bought like Streams of Silver. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, that's not Dragon's Lance. And so I just kind of put it down and never touched it, right? This was like probably in like the early to mid 80s, it's just a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. I was in a like a Books a Million or something, Barnes and Noble, and I was walking through the bookstores. So I was a huge reader, back in the day, novels and stuff. Saw this book called A Thousand Orcs. I'm like, man, that's a pretty cool cover, man. It's like, huh. I was like, I might get this because it said book one of the such and such trilogy or something. I think, whatever. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna grab this. Got it, read it, and I was like, something is very like, it's like something is I'm missing something, but something about this book, and so I went and dug through all my, some of my books I have because I don't ever do anything with my novels. I have all the novels I bought as a kid. They're up somewhere, in my like
Same.
shelf, and so I just never, I'll
Yep.
never throw those away. Right,
Same.
those are
At
go with
Yep.
me into the coffin. You know what I'm saying?
One
And
hundred
so
percent.
um, I went and found that book and it was Streams of Silver, Forgotten Realms. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, my parents bought me a part of this series way back in the day, and I never read it. And so, and that was like basically originally that was part one of that whole, if I'm not mistaken, the whole series. That was the
So
first book release, right?
Streams of Silver is the third book in the original Icewind Dale trilogy. The first book is actually the Crystal Shard.
Okay, that's right. Sorry. All right. So I had the Crystal Shard. My bad. Not Streams of
Okay.
Silver. So,
You were
yeah. So
close.
I
Yeah.
had. So I had. I can't remember all the names of those books, but yeah, the Crystal Shard is what the one they bought for me, and I went and I read that, and I was like, holy crap! I was like, this is the first book, that they released back in the day. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
actually the fourth book, and as far as chronological order
Mm-hmm.
goes. But
Correct.
yeah. So anyway, I read those two books and immediately fell in love and bought as many as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in time, I was pretty current with that, but I have like fell behind over like the past.
Me too. The last decade, I've fallen
Yeah,
behind, man.
yeah, I've fallen behind, but I read like 15, 20 books like
Mm-hmm.
in a matter of like a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, I couldn't get enough of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love that series. Love it.
Such good fantasy. Such good fantasy.
Yeah.
And because of the popularity of that series and R.A. Salvatore's writing, that's what brought Forgotten Realms into the early mid 2000s as the main campaign setting that Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons uses for their, D&D
Yeah.
modules and stuff. So, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. So, and then I know all Star Wars fans out here probably know, and I know I talked about it in the toy box, but always love mentioning that it's R.A. Salvatore who technically killed Chewbacca in the old EU,
Yep. You
as a
did.
moon was crushing him on a planet. But his last throws was saving people and throwing him on the Millennium Falcon. So
That's right.
pretty
That's right.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Um, yeah, I remember when I first saw you go live or something, I saw those books right behind you, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to him about that because you don't see that very often,
Mm-mm.
in this community. And so, I mean, I tell everybody, it's like if you want a good fantasy series,
Mm-hmm.
read that series, man.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. 100%.
it's a fun read, and it can get super emotional at times,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
awesome,
Salvatore is my favorite writer technically, and
yeah,
yeah, one of the greatest. Mudhorn knows is a fan as well too, and we've talked
oh, for
about it as
sure,
well. He writes the
yeah,
best combat scenes, and you can close your
yeah,
eyes and like literally imagine word for
yep,
word the swords clashing and everything. It's pretty
yep,
brilliant. So
yep.
yeah, no, I do
Agree.
love that. That's always
Agree.
random. I get excited when people are talking about or know like Dritz and things in that nature. So it's always
Yeah.
always cool to see that. So but you never actually played D&D, correct?
No, I've attempted it a few times when I was younger, but we could never get past creating characters. Man, it's like the attention
It was a
span,
slog back then. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
attention span of teenagers. Just like, oh, we're gonna get back
Hmm.
together. Is there no girls gonna be here? I'm like, ugh, dude, we're playing games. I mean, it's not like it's like, come on, priority, okay,
Yeah.
priority. You
Yeah.
know.
No, man. No.
But I've played some since with my son. Sort of. I say played. It's more of a casual thing
Sure.
that they have like some starter
Hmm.
campaigns where they pretty much will like read through the steps where you can do it, or people are just rolling dice and this
Hmm.
and that. So we've done that a little bit, and he played it a little bit with his friends, but just never really. I just never really got too far into it. I love the whole idea of it. I just never could find a group that
Hmm.
I, you know, could do that with.
It's tough. It's tough. That's why with the way they've done their online and everything now too. Like you can do it. It's just people got to be comfortable, just kind of almost meeting strangers and playing with strangers at that point,
Yeah,
or finding people that can
I'm,
do online
yeah.
one shots and stuff, just
I
kind of get a
went
feel for
more of the Magic the Gathering than I did like
it.
um, RPG. You know what I'm
Dude, I've
saying?
been playing Magic the Gathering for the last month almost every weekend, out of nowhere, and I played it a lot
Yeah,
as a kid, so pretty
yeah.
crazy. This came up out of nowhere.
I played it. I played it a lot, and I guess after it came out, and I played it pretty hardcore for a few years. And like I said, it's just one of those things where it's you can spend a lot of money on that too. And so I had to cut
Sure
my
can.
ties from that because it's like just like everything else, man. Everything is just so expensive, and if you want to get a hobby, um, it's a lot.
Hmm.
So
Yep. Facts. 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 Well, I do want to, of course, talk about something that you do pretty consistently, which is obviously collect toys. So, um, what I'm wondering is did you always collect toys like this? Do you still have toys from your childhood, or was this like how a lot of folks kind of like pause for like their late teens, mid 20s, and then pick it back up later? Like, what does that look like for you? Did you pick that back up later, or have you always just kind of been collecting and buying stuff throughout your adulthood?
so this is a tragedy story that I'm about to say because I've said it before in a few places and here and there, but so coming up, I was the only child for almost like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And my dad he's the reason why I'm still into action figures is because he was a big fan of Star Wars and he bought. Not that I was ever asking for anything, but he made sure that I had like all the figures. You know what I'm saying? Like I had all Star Wars, GI Joe, and then I would buy Transformers and He Man. I was basically in the golden age of toys, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it was there was not any that I didn't have that I really wanted. Like I didn't have, like Thundercats and some of those things, but the big three, Star
Mhm.
Wars, GI Joe, and Transformers, I pretty much had them all, and I was very lucky to be able to have that. My dad would buy extras of the bad guys, so he's like, you need more than just one bad guy. You got to have a few of these guys because you got a lot of good guys, you got to have a lot of bad guys.
Army building. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he basically like one Christmas, after I opened up all my presents and stuff, he's like, "Hey, you another box in there on the dryer, right?" And I go in there, and it's just a whole box of Gamorrean guards, right? It's probably like 10 or 12 of them, and I'm thinking like, "Holy shit!" You know what I'm saying? It's like I can't believe he bought this. I found them. He was like, there was a case there, and he asked if they'd sell them to me, and they said, yeah. And it still had the Star Wars case,
Oh
with
my
all that,
god,
And I'm like,
really? Really?
yeah, and I'm like, dude, you're like the best dad ever, right? So I was like, you're definitely making me like want to continue this forever. Um,
That's
but
great.
I was big into those, and then I got into high school and junior high, and I kind of went away from action figures and kind of got into comics, and I got into those hardcore. Um, and then I got out of high school and stuff like that. And during this time, I was a big fan of the X Men, Spider Man, and stuff. and
Hmm.
so they would have, the action figures like was it Showbiz, or I forgot who was making the Marvel characters back in the day.
Toy
Um,
Biz.
Toy Biz, and so I had a lot of those figures and stuff that I would just kind of buy as like sort of stand up sort of props for the characters I was reading about. And
Yeah.
so I was big into those, and then Star Wars started re-releasing their figures again, and I was like, oh shit, I don't have any of these like so I had a bunch of all those toys we had in a shed, and so we were cleaning out the shed one day, and the boxes had rotted and stuff. So we put all these figures and stuff into plastic bags, like trash bags,
Yeah.
and we left them on the porch. And after we got through cleaning up the garage and stuff, it was raining, and like we'll put them over there, back in the garage in a day or so. Well, my grandfather came in back with his truck, and he thought all the trash bags was trash, and threw away like all that stuff. Right? I didn't. I
Oh no.
probably got like 15 figures that made it through from those days, and I was at the point I was out of action figures, right? So it's like it really wasn't like, holy, why did you do that for? But now it's more like, oh, if I still had that stuff now, man. I mean, it's like, no telling what I would have done with those, but at least had the opportunity to do something with them. Um, but
Oh
anyway,
God.
that was like a dream crusher when that happened.
Yeah,
And
no
so
kidding.
I pretty much sort of started buying, like Star Wars figures here and there. Whenever they have a movie come out, I would buy, the figures and stuff like that, because I was always a big Star Wars fan.
Hmm.
Occasionally, I would buy, some GI Joe or Transformers later on and stuff because I was a big Transformers fan as well. And so I would do that occasionally here and there. And then the Clone Wars animated show came out, right? So it was a big boom for like Star Wars figures, big boom. They had multiple lines going, and I bought pretty much everything at that point in time. It was like the mid 2000s, and I was like, I'm going to save these for my son or my daughter, I guess. If they want to mess with these, fine. And so I bought a crap load of that stuff, and then ended up going through a divorce and like selling like most of it just
Mm.
because
Mm-mm-mm.
I needed some of the money, and I didn't think my kids really were like taking to them, and so pretty much sold everything I had toy wise. And because I was like, I'm too old for action figures, what I'm saying? I need to like move on, and
Right,
stuff.
right,
And
right.
little did I know, like 10 years later, I'd be like right back into the thick of it, wishing that I'd never sold anything. But
Hey.
that was that was kind of the way it was until like the Mandalorian came out. And so that got me back into buying action figures again. It was mostly um, like 6-inch figures at that point in time because the sequels had came out, and I was buying a few figures of those guys and stuff, the First
Mm.
Order Troopers, stuff like that, and the Black Series that came out, and so it was kind of like sort of rejuvenating me a little bit with action figures. But the Mandalorian is what really did it. It's like I was like, okay, like I am definitely back in with Star Wars again, and
Right.
I definitely want to keep getting this. And I was kind of on my outs with comics because I'd done as much as I could. I'd read a lot and stuff. And so, yeah, Mandalorian kind of brought me back in. And so
Got you
I've
back
been,
in.
buying, action figures ever since. I've changed scales a couple times, but I am primarily in 1/18th now
Hmm. Yeah.
for
Okay.
the
So
long haul of it, I guess.
so now Yamato 6. Tell me about Yamato 6. Like, what does it mean to you? Or I guess, or like, what is maybe, is it, does it take place in the Star Wars universe adjacently? Like, tell me a little bit about what that, I guess, literally is.
So it's not difficult. It's so I wanted something to be like kind of like a Star Wars universe type of deal, right?
Hmm.
And so my original like idea was this was a planet that blah 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 aliens were on, and you know some invaders crashed on the planet, gave them better technology, and then they basically created a black hole that would suck the world out of that potential universe or multiverse and pop it into another one, and it would be occasionally popping in and out of different universes, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
like eternally. And so that's how
Mm,
I could get away with having maybe Luke Skywalker on there with potential Anakin or
okay.
various characters who died and stuff like that. Just kind of a lazy way for me to combine all the stuff that I love, right?
Right. Right.
I mean, it's we're just basically taking. I mean, it's the lore is not really that important as far as as it's whatever I want to do with it, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of the end. Like you might see Luke Skywalker on there, you might see Darth Vader on there, and they may both be sometimes you know different versions of themselves, right?
Right.
And so I just Yamato 6 because when I was a kid, I loved this cartoon called Star Blazers, and they had the spaceship about Yamamoto, and it's that's pretty much the name that I sort of took from that. And anyway, it's names are kind of cool when you put a number beside it sometimes,
It's true. It's
and
true.
so I just sort of did that, and it's just it basically gives me a way to sort of the Yamato 6 is basically kind of like a Star Wars. Now I can't talk. A Star Wars sort of Tatooine esque world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of how it started, and that's kind of what it is mostly. But I'm always open to change it up a little bit.
Right. Right.
When you get a little bored, you need to change it up. So
Hmm. I mean, to me, like I think that's a good way of looking at it. Almost like a really high esque or busy upscale Maz Espa or something, right? Like because there's
yeah,
parts of it that looks like different layers of Coruscant, but it also still kind of recognizes like it's kind of like a Tatooine kind of spot or something like that. So, what if I asked
yeah.
you to create a flyer to entice people to come visit as like tourism? What would that flyer say to come to Yamato 6?
It would probably say something to the likes of come to Yamato 6, where the imperial presence is not very much here. You know what I'm saying? It's like we definitely have Imperials, but it's pretty much um, without a heavy resistance. From the Imperial presence. Until I need it to be. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a fun town. There's not really a lot of deaths.
That's good for a flyer. Fun
Yeah,
town, not a lot of deaths, right?
it's
Yeah.
like, but it's like it happens, but it's like it's more of a just a place to kind of come and kick back and relax a little bit and get away
Mhm.
from your typical, you know, day to day, grinds and stuff,
Right. Right.
because
Okay.
most of the stuff that I write about, or I say write about, most of the stuff I tend to take pictures of is basically people like in like situations where they've kind of either got off work, what I'm saying, or going home, or they're working, on some power generators or something like
Hmm.
that always keep failing, and just kind of, some day to day stuff. I don't really do a whole lot of massive storylines, even though I do have one about to start, but
Good.
it's just kind of, just kind of casual, a casual place,
Oh, okay. There you go. That's good for a flyer too. A casual place, right?
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
sounds good. Um, One of the things I do notice when you do your pictures is that you really capture the essence of a living, breathing world. Some of you all out there do a really good job of that. Timbo's another one that comes to mind as well too. But you know, it looks like because you've been doing some of the behind the scenes as well too. Like you seem like you're pretty like detailed or meticulous about like your setup. And I obviously everybody's got to think about lighting and things in that nature. Is that like a process that you take pride in, like how your photos turn out or kind of that setup?
when I first started, it was pretty much smoke and mirrors, man. It's like I didn't have any dioramas. I just had basically pieces of board or like poster board that I would paint to
Yeah.
use as backdrops and stuff, right? And I would add like little accessories to it. And so for me, it was like I grew up with nothing, so I can actually do a little bit more with the pieces I've got from a lot of people. It's like I've made some myself, and I've got some. I try. My whole thing was when I first started doing this world building thing was I wanted to get something from everyone, so I could use it all as you know as a world being built. Right? Like I wanted
Yeah.
as much stuff as I could from other people to show what they were doing and to add it to my world to sort of be like, yeah, I'm world building, but it's like through other people, you know what I'm saying? Through other
Yeah.
creators and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of good creators out there that make stuff. And yes, I could make it all, but it's like, I also like to showcase other people's, work and
Hmm.
stuff. And so, most of the stuff I have is from other people, just because you know I love seeing what other people do. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I love seeing. It's like I love art. I love different styles of art, and I think everybody has their different styles of how they build stuff. And I kind of want to get as much of that as I can, to say, hey, look, I've got all this stuff from all these different people, and this is a literal world that I'm building with, other people's influence. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so, but I do like there's times where I'm like I'll get to in my head like it's basically toys, right? It's action figures. So how serious can it be, right? It's like it's action figures at the end of the day. I do want to take some good like toy photography shots, but at the end of the day, it's still just toys, right? And it's
Hmm.
like I'm not going to get too serious about it. But when I feel like I really have a good shot, I'm proud of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like there's times where I'll maybe spend 30 to 40 minutes putting something together, and I'll be like, it's all right enough to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the main thing is it, don't get into your head too much to where you feel like you're trying to make a 10 out of 10 like every time, right?
Right. Right.
Because it's like you just want to be able to this is a hobby, it's not a job. I'm not getting paid for this. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just
Yeah.
want to have something that relaxes you,
Hmm.
and that makes you happy, pretty much. And I'm not saying that you can't be the best, you know um, with everything you do, but it's like I feel like I'm going to try to take some pretty decent shots, and when there's a good one, there's a good one. You know what I'm saying? And if one of them isn't all the best, then maybe the next one will be a little bit better. You
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. That's a pretty good mantra there as well. I know as somebody myself who's still trying to get into more of that, especially really soon. Like my problem is like I'm very perfectionist about everything. So like what you just said is honestly the way everybody should look at it, or even myself. I just have a hard time doing that because I'm so hard on
Yeah. No.
myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, it does because it's like you want to do the best that you can,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
you because you're showing that off to the world.
All right.
But
Right. Right.
on the other side of it is, it's like um, we're supposed to be doing this for a hobby, right?
Hmm.
It's for fun, and so um, it's what when I first started, I was, not like I feel like I've sort of I've grown, exponentially since when I started, and I feel like that's one of the things that people sometimes, I guess, maybe have a hard time with is like don't compare, yourself to some of your favorite people because they've probably been doing it, a longer time and they've gone through, like, and another thing too is don't be afraid to post something if you think it's going to bomb or whatever, because that's what helps you grow,
Right.
right? It's like
Yeah.
I have a lot of stuff that I posted that I know sucks, right? Or is stupid to look at now. But I'm keeping it on there just because it's a part of the process. It's basically the destination that you're traveling, right?
Hmm.
And you can see from the very beginning to like the end now, there is definitely like growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
On if you to
Yeah.
go and to look at all the pictures I posted. And so, am I where I want to be? No, I still want to keep grow. I'm gonna still keep growing, but I'm fine with, like I'm at the level right now where I feel like whatever I post is fine with me. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like I've gotten to the point where I'm fine with it, and it makes me happy. So that's all that really matters.
Well, and you did kind of bring up something I did intend to ask earlier on, but I think we got so deep into the Star Wars conversation as well too that I kind of lost track of where I wanted to go. But what was it that kind of got you into this, like doing the world building or maybe the photography or the combo of the two? Like, was there like an eureka moment for you, or you saw something, or what was that for you?
I think I have always wanted to tell a story. Like for a while there, I thought
Yeah.
about I might write a novel or something like that. But I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just stupid talk for myself because it's like I'm terrible with English half the time anyway. But it's like
Sure.
I've always
Right.
kind of wanted to tell a story. Right? I always want to tell a story, and I'm an Aquarius too, so I'm like a dreamer, right? So I'm always
Mm,
thinking of these things, these ideas and stuff. Like I have a million and one ideas, but haven't finished a single one. You know what I'm saying? It's like
sure.
that's kind of how the Aquarius are. But um, I was seeing people like Empire Toy Works and then Sky Bottom. They had these worlds that they were like taking pictures of and stuff, and they were it was a lot of stuff was Empire was he was mainly doing a lot of combinations of a lot of different lines, and I was like, well, that would be what I would do. I was like, I mean, I love Star Wars and everything, but it's like
Right.
there's more than just Star Wars out there, right? And so just seeing, and there was other people doing it too. Don't get me wrong, but Empire Toy Works was probably the first one that I noticed, right? And so I just like the idea of like trying to make a sort of a living world, that you could tell stories in, and
Mm-hmm.
I happened to find this line of action figures called Acid Rain, and yeah, they
That's
are super expensive, but
uh,
they were the guy Kit Lau was basically sort of telling a story with all
mhm.
those figures that was coming out, and I liked how they looked, and they were like they wasn't shiny, they were all weathered up and stuff, like they'd
Mhm.
seen some stuff, and so to me, I was like, well, I want to combine a few of these lines and basically tell some stories, and
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, that was kind of what did it for me. I was like, when I first started, I was just taking pictures of action figures I had in general, right? And I might would say some kind of funny line or something on there, just as a tagline or something, but then I eventually sort of just went to 1/18th and just started specifically doing world building with that, and I've been doing it for I don't know, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
and I'm still having fun with it. So
Still plugging along. That's funny that you said Acid Rain. That was literally the next thing I was going to bring up. So, I mean, so TVC, Star Wars 118, that's like your main thing, obviously for your Model 6, but I know you get some things, involved as well, but uh Acid Rain, so that's like because of all the people I know, that you're like the guy when it comes to acid rain, at least as far as from would you call it an addiction or how do you look at that when it comes to acid rain?
I mean, I don't have as many as some people do, but I'd probably say in the group that we gravitate towards, I'd probably say on that group, I probably have, the most
Mm,
of the group. But, like I said, they were cheaper when I first started. So there's that, but they are kind of like a boutique sort of niche, or
yeah.
niche, sort of line. And I love aliens, I love troopers, I love droids,
Hmm.
right? And so they nail two of those. The troopers and the droids, they definitely nail. The aliens is more of a Star Wars thing because it's pretty much designed for aliens, right? And
Absolutely, yeah.
so, but yeah, I actually collect. Eagle Force as well. And so those three lines are probably the three that I'm intermingle quite often. But yeah, Acid Rain, man, it's just I don't know. I'd say yeah, it probably is an addiction because I can't stop buying them. Right? I don't
Right,
know if
right.
I slowed down, but it's like I love them, man. I do.
Hmm.
It's like one of those things where you find something every once in a while and you just
Hmm.
want to keep getting it. Um, and I know it's expensive, and I know that my days are numbered probably getting those. But they're still fun for me to get. I love it's a high when I get them, man. That's why
Yeah.
when I see new ones released, I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get these guys.
I know, I know. I know that feeling. I know the
You
feeling.
know,
Yep. Yep, that's great. And don't they so they do mechs and stuff too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're called in that world they're called laurels.
Yeah, those are
Um,
really
but,
sweet looking.
but yeah, some of them are like super awesome, man. And to me, that's another thing too. Is like they make vehicles for those figures, so it's not just the figures. And
Mhm.
it's like they make all kinds of vehicles, and it's more of a military world, you
Mhm.
know. And it's more of a human sort of world mostly.
Right.
But yeah, I dig it, man. It hit me at the right time to find them, and like I said, they're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty neat. I haven't picked one up yet. It's just I think just because it wouldn't fit with anything that I'm really focusing on right now, but it's been very hard not to with any of those kind of like mech style characters. I was a big Titanfall player. I love mechs. I mean I watched a lot of
Yeah,
anime, right? So growing up on like Robotech and things in that nature, like Transformers, right? So like anything that's big and robotic like that, I'm
yeah.
just like, oh, I get
I'm
starry
right
eyed.
there. Yeah, I'm right
Just
there
get
with you.
yeah, completely like into it. So it's one of these days I'm sure I'll pick up something. So
So
um
another thing is like they have like two lines going, right? They have their acid rain line, which is the mostly military stuff, but then they also have like this annex line, which is annex 2179, I think is what it's called, and it's sort of their cyberpunk line, right?
I think I have seen. Yeah, yeah,
And so they sort of that's sort of the side that he kind of goes crazy in occasionally, and like
yeah. Hmm.
what could I come up with that's just like out there, oh, a
Right.
robot with, or this big forearm dude or something as a bouncer, and so to me, I love both those lines
Hmm.
because um anyway, they're awesome in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I do want to, of course, talk a little about Into the Toy Box. And I want to start with Bob. So is he a longtime friend of yours, or is he somebody you met through the process of collecting and kind of through Instagram?
So yes, he is who I met. So I only probably follow one person that actually is like a real time friend.
Hmm.
His name is Toy Story Dreamer, and he actually lives in the same state that I do. And that's pretty much the only person that I know in this. Well, actually, there's another guy I know named Eric. They're the only two people I know that actually do action figures.
Hmm.
Um, in real life, that I know personally that live here. And so, but Bob is somebody that I followed, I guess it was probably within the first year when I started this. And I loved how, he would basically just have this backdrop and these figures, and he would basically give his thoughts about them and stuff, right? And so he was a huge, or he is, I should say, a huge, like, Eagle Force fan,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
so he's actually the one who got me into those. And yeah, I know that I've been following him for 3 or 4 years, and vice versa. And so we sort of hit it off a little bit with the Eagle Force stuff, and we talked a lot about that, online and stuff like that. And then um, just being around people, talking to them and stuff. I've been on a couple streams with him where he was on there too, and so we just he likes Star Wars as well, and
Hmm.
Legos and stuff like that, and just a lot of the same type of things. And we're fairly close in age as well, so we kind of have the same sort of life experiences as well. Um, but I was trying to come up with a show, to do because I was on, Rad and them. They asked me to come on World Makers,
Yeah.
way back in the day, and I loved it, man. It's like him and Josh, it was like such a high for me, man. It's like I lived off that high for like 2 or 3 months, man, just because
Right.
I love to talk about action figures for one, and anyway, I could talk about that stuff like all day long. But anyway, it was such a great like feeling for me. And then I was on a few other shows after that, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. Like I would love to be able to do that. I'd love to have people on. I'd like to ask them
Yeah.
questions about stuff. And I eventually was like, I need to have somebody to do it with me, though. I feel like that's probably a good thing is to have a co-host. And I reached out to Bob if he, asked him if he'd be interested in that, and he was like, well, "Sure." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "We need to come up with a name for this thing." And, we floated a bunch of things back and forth to each other, and he actually came up with the name of Into the Toy Box, and so I'm like, "That's it. We'll use
That's
that
it.
one."
Yep. It's a great name. It's a great name.
We've been doing that ever since. I think this is maybe year number 3 that we've kind of been doing it.
Wow.
Um, so it
That's
was,
awesome.
it was pretty rough in the beginnings. It's a pretty low key show as far as like there's like not really a lot of frills or anything like that. We don't do a lot of videos or anything. It's just pretty much just two dudes talking about toys.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Nothing wrong with that, and nothing wrong with that. And you guys fill the chat every Sunday night when you guys go live. It's a very chill. Bob's a great co-host. Everybody loves Bob, right? Let's be
Yeah,
realistic here. So,
yeah.
what would you say is, if you can, and it might be hard to compartmentalize this, but like, what is the mission of Into the Toy Box to you? I guess overall, like, what is kind of the theme you think of that is?
So, in all honesty, the reason why I made that show or that I wanted to make the show was because I wanted to talk to people that I may not have access to. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
some of the people who actually made the action figures, that we collect.
Hmm.
That was pretty much the ulterior motive of the show, right? I wanted to have people on and I wanted to kind of give them, maybe the moment that I got,
Yeah, that
when I was
feeling.
on, to sort of pay it forward a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't know if I've done that really that much, or if I don't know how people feel about it, but it's like um, I wanted to do that, and then I also wanted to be able to get people on that were in the industry, right?
Right.
And so sort of maybe rubbing some elbows with some of the people that uh, that we wanted to potentially get on. Like I would love to have somebody on from the Hasbro side of things. You know what I'm saying, from Star Wars. And maybe at some point in time, maybe that will happen. But it's like we're a small show. We're not going to ever get like hundreds of people watch us, or anything like that. But it's for me, it's just fun to do this thing because it's like hobby part, 2.0. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a continuation of
It's an
the hobby.
extension. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so
Okay,
it's
okay.
fun. It's a fun thing to do.
You kind of talk about that, like, interviewing. Like, is there a dream interview or hangout on the show that you're like, this would be ideal. This is who I really
Well,
want to talk to.
for sure, for sure. Like I know, in the grand scheme of things, that people will be like, "That's the person you want to get." But I mean, if I had to, I mean, if my number one would be Empire Toy Works, just
Okay.
because I would really love to pick that guy's brain about, a few things. I mean, I'm sure it's not something he hasn't already said before, but just to, have him on the other side of the screen talking about it live, I think would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like my number one. I don't. Bob might would have a different, a different guess. But like I said, I would definitely love to have somebody, on like the Star Wars, side of it, just to be able to, talk to them about, the vintage collection, or like, hey, what was your, they can only say so much because,
Sure.
whatever, but it would be cool just to hear them, talk about, or, you know, the founder of, Acid Rain, Kit Lau. I would love to have him on the show. I mean, that would be a dream, as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not even sure how that would even go about, but I mean, that's the type of things that was like would be the dream sort of,
Right.
thing to happen, is if people like that could be on the show.
Hey, it's never too late for that stuff to happen. Send out an email, maybe, right? Let's send out an
Yeah,
email to you. Maybe you get
yeah.
Dave Filoni on even too. That'd be cool, right? Holy smokes, could you
Yeah,
imagine
I
that?
mean, it's like as far as like dreams. I mean, we could definitely,
Yeah, we start reaching really high, right?
we could
Right. Yeah.
reach really high. If we want to just talk
Yeah.
about super dreams or whatever. But yeah, that would be the type of stuff that would be once in a lifetime opportunities
Yeah.
that would be super awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what about yourself?
Me, I man, I'd really think on that one because if we keep it like in the toy kind of realm, um, probably continue getting to know some of the people on the Harbinger Studio side.
Yeah,
Um, I don't
because
know if that's like a
you're like super into Savage Crucible right now, right?
yeah, yeah, and like we're gonna try and get Rob, the guy that runs Harbinger Studio, on. So it's a pretty good chance I might be able to get him on Dungeon Banter or something like that. But we've already got kind of to know some of the folks in there, and Jay Hova that I do with it knows a few people too in there. So even just kind of getting to know them and being there for their streams and be part of that community is already awesome. So I don't know if that's like super super dream. It's pretty high up there just because I'm so into this line and I really want to pick Rob's
Right,
brain. I think like really want
right.
to pick his brain because he's clearly way big into fantasy and nerddoms and stuff like that I was too. So, and there's certain things that I see and connect some dots, and I'm like, I want to ask him about this, but I don't know if anybody's asked him, right? But, as far as just interviewing in general, man, I'm a really big fan of like astrophysics and astronomy. So, like a Neil deGrasse
Okay.
Tyson, like I'd
Oh
love to
yeah.
sit down and love to sit down with NDT or something like that, or let me think here. Who there's somebody's just right on the forefront of my mind too. But I digress. I feel like that's a good one for me. Like somebody like NDT would be an awesome conversation someday, but we'll see.
So, you're talking about having I guess the owner of Savage Crucible on, right?
Mm.
And so, we actually got to do like a pretty big thing for us as far as Bob and I. We had Bill Murphy on, who is basically the owner of Fresh Monkey Fiction, and we had him on last
Awesome.
year, and that was a big get for us. Because
Yeah,
like I said,
it's awesome.
we don't really have a super big show or anything like that. Thank you, Timbo. I appreciate it. But having Bill on was pretty much it was that was pretty much the ceiling for us. Now we've had Ed Hellman on, who actually helps with Fresh Monkey Fiction, and Chris from Grindhouse Toys, who's made figures for them as
That's
well.
awesome.
And it's awesome to be able to have people on that are in the world that you're trying to that you're collecting. You know what I'm saying? And you
Hmm.
get to hear stuff, their side of it. And to me, it's awesome. I mean, we were fanboys when we had those
I
guys
bet.
on. You
I
know,
bet. I bet. And I'm assuming that's probably some of your favorite moments from doing Into the Toy Box. That's big.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
that's
It's
awesome.
like, yeah, definitely having Bill on was awesome because
Yeah.
I sort of fell in love with the Eagle Force figures by way of Bob, and so one of the thoughts I had was like, Bob's not getting enough love for this. You know what I'm saying? He's out here like carrying the flag for Eagle Force, and there's like not really a lot of people talking about it, right? I mean, it's like I know there's other people that bought the line and stuff like that, but it's like I would see him consistently posting stuff, and
Right.
I'm like, nobody else is doing it. I'm like, we got to get this guy. Um, this guy. We got to get him to where he's like getting some love for this. And I know he would talk to Bill and Ed and all those guys, whenever he'd go to Joe Fest and stuff. But that's Joe Fest, they can't go, they can't run from you where you're there. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
um, get them on screen and talking to them. It's like that's where it's at. And so I was glad to be able to do that. I mean, just awesome for myself, but definitely for Bob too, because I know he's a
Yeah.
huge fan of Eagle Force as well.
Yeah, that's it right there, man. Being able to connect with people like that, that you appreciate their work, and they're talking to you like, no, man, that's cool for anybody in that sense. And content creation out here, we're putting ourselves out there in front of the world. We're putting ourselves in a line, whether you're little, big, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still putting the time into that, and those little
Right.
things like that that kind of come back full force with you and be like, this is why I do it.
It's
It's
kind of
something
Yeah,
rewarding in that
it's a
sense.
payoff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it
definitely a
really
reward.
is. That's a good way of looking. Yeah, it's a payoff. It's a good way
I
of looking
mean,
at
don't
it.
get me wrong. I love having all the guests on that we have,
Hmm.
because I like to be able to talk to people and
Hmm.
sort of hear what they have to say. But that's sort of stuff that pays the bills. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Getting someone on that's actually in the industry that you're actually collecting
Passionate about. Yeah.
stuff of that's the reward sort of aspect of it, what I'm
Hmm.
saying. And not to take away from anybody that's on the show, it's not saying that we don't appreciate all the guests that have been on. It's great, and we love to have them on, and we'll have them on again. But it's like, for us particularly, that's kind of the thing that like, okay, this is what is one of the things we hoped would happen but never knew
Right.
would. you know
Right. 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 They all can't be as famous as somebody like Zilla, but that's a pretty good start, I think.
That's right.
Anyways,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Josh and Brad were like the two people that, I mean, I never even watched a stream before, probably a few months before that, right? Like, I remember I watched Toy Domination with
Yeah.
Dom, and I watched um, you know I guess I can't even remember if Rad and them even had a show before that, but then they did World Makers, and then it's been, and I got to be on that show, and so that was kind of like a dream come true, being
Yeah.
on that show with those guys. And so it's been a great sort of experience for me. And I will say this too, just for people who think about, hey, I might want to do that sometime. Look, the early shows are always going to kind of be the roughest ones, and you kind of got to get into your element, right?
Hmm.
And so we may not be firing at 100% all the time anyway, but it's like, if you want to do it, I'm just going to say just do it, and because you're not going to know. It's like they say about winning the lottery, you can't win if you don't play. You know,
Yeah, I honestly, it's about consistency. It's about the grind. Like, you just have to keep doing it, and sometimes you have to evolve. I've been doing
yeah,
this since 2018 consistently, right? And it's always just about like that grind. And I've adapted, once or twice and evolved my content. And sometimes you just kind of evolve either with what is going on, or maybe like for me, I just evolving, kind of into a direction that I just want to kind of move into, right? Like, because you can't be complacent, I feel like, but I
right.
also want to be able to express myself and enjoy the things that I'm enjoying and talk about things I'm enjoying or connect with people, right? Which does bring me actually to kind of that next question with this with you. Like, do you guys ever get the itch to evolve your content? Do you ever talk about doing different things or adding more content? Or what does that, look like for you guys?
So I would say this, and I'm sure Bob would probably have his own opinion, but for us, the theme of the show was basically, you know, just me and him talking about toys,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't going to matter if there was two people watching us or 20 people watching us, right?
Hmm.
We were wanting to sort of have a chat about toys and do that, right? And if people watched, great. If they didn't, that's fine, right?
Hmm.
We're still
Hmm.
going to do it no matter what, because that's what we wanted to do, right? Is we wanted to talk about action figures. And I mean, I think we have tried various other things, since we've been doing this, and some of it's kind of been hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we've changed formats or anything like that, but I will definitely say that when you are pretty much a 1/18th sort of um, collector or something like that, and you do a stream about 1/18th, you're going to not really have a lot of people watch who are not really into 1/18th. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So it's like if the 6-inch figure scale fans may not really care about the show. You know what I'm saying? It's like they may not. Lego fans may not care about the show. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
it's pretty much the niche that we're in is who
Yeah.
we're sort of talking to, right?
Yeah.
And we have had other, sort of niches. Like we had our first sort of Lego block show like a month or two ago, and we'll try to do that occasionally. And just because I like Legos as well, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so um, I feel like it's always good to have a little bit of a different, opinion or source, so you just don't do the same thing over and over, right?
Hmm.
And so you just got that option. I mean, toys encompass, all toys in general, you know what I'm saying? And so you could talk about every variation of those until, you until the cows come home, pretty much. But we have enough information where we kind of want to talk about
Yeah.
certain things and have certain people on. And so far, it's like we haven't got to the point where like, well, what do you want to talk about this week? Well, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. Well, should we do a show or just not do a show? And so it's right now we still have plenty of stuff to talk about and choose from. So we're just gonna keep rolling with that. But we're not if we wanted to change and do something else, we might do that. But I mean, it's just toys, and we just kind of want to talk
Yeah.
about the stuff that we collect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I like that, and I think that that's one of the good. I mean, I don't get too deep into 118, right? I mean, I clearly have a ton of 118 that I bought over the years, and was kind of starting to lean that way at first when I want to do world building. But I still just like tuning just to hang out and hear you guys talk and support, as when I can, So,
yeah. I mean,
not
I
only
don't
that,
get me
like
wrong.
conversations are fun, right? So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
for sure.
we and Bob collects more than 1/18th, and I do too. And
Yeah.
like I said, I think we're just kind of scratching the surface on a lot of people sort of have their niche, right? And
Hmm.
whoever stream that they're doing or whatever, they'll talk about something that they're super passionate about, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't have a problem talking about anything. If it's a something that people's interested in, just because I definitely love some of the 112 stuff that people are doing. I mean, I love the Cosmic Legions. I love Mythic
Yeah.
Legions, the Marvel Legends and Classified and stuff like that. But I just don't have the money to buy all those. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's just
Yeah.
you can't get everything, and so I live vicariously through a lot of other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's fair.
even Savage Crucible and stuff like that. I've got a buddy that he's into Savage Crucible, and he's into the Fresh Monkey Fictions Monster Force or
Oh,
whatever
that's
that
getting
six.
so big right now too. Holy smokes.
And it's like I just sort of live through other people because it's like
Yeah.
it's awesome,
Yeah.
and I wish I had the money for it all, but I don't. So
Well, and that's perfectly fine because that brings up the last piece before I throw you through the gauntlet here is that you're saving for Joe Fest, from what I understand. If you had remember the old Marvel cards in like the early 90s, like the stat block cards, the pictures, like a
yeah,
comic book card, and on the back there'd
yeah.
be a little bio. I think yours might say saving for Joe Fest.
that was the battle cry for last year, man. Because
It surely was. It
it was the battle cry because it was like that was I missed going to the Joe Fest the year before, and I
hmm
really wanted to go. But life just happens, right?
It
So
happens.
last year I was able to go. I was able to go. I knew I was going to go early on, and so that was something to come out or something, and I'm saving for Joe Fest, even though I just bought like the newest wave of vintage collection figures or whatever. But this one
Right.
for Joe Fest, right?
Right.
And so that's pretty much will be probably something the phrase that said probably for the life of whoever that know about it, going
Yep.
forward,
Yep.
save it
Yep.
for whatever.
Yep. I
But
feel
yeah,
like I think everybody sometimes uses it for themselves as well. I'm saving for Joe Fest, so
right, right, yeah,
seven for something. Awesome. Well,
yep.
hey, no, that I appreciate being able to go through a lot of you, and I do want to kind of veer it kind of towards home at this point and bring her into harbor here. So we're gonna go through the gauntlet of questions here, and I'm gonna start with this
All
one.
right.
So, name a fictional character or celebrity or an inspirational character or figure that you looked up to maybe as a young Audi or still do.
Phew. Well, I will tell you this. Um, as a younger kid, it was probably Steve Rogers with comics.
Okay, there you
Like,
go.
I was really big into comics, and I got that into my sort of teenage years. And so, yeah, sort of, you know, lawful good, type of character. And so he was about the most lawful good character that there was in comics. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I, that says to me, if we ever get a chance to get you to play some D&D, you probably should be a paladin. So there you go.
probably.
I think a
Yeah,
pally would be
probably.
perfect for you. And
Yeah, it's like I can't be the bad guy in the games when it gives you
right,
the
can't be the
the
option. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I get it. It's tough. It's tough for me later. Earlier, as a young angsty whatever, like it was different. I was like, I'm gonna be the Sith in this one. But nowadays,
right,
it's
right,
much harder to do that. What's
yeah.
your favorite cereal? It's a very important question. I feel like.
Favorite cereal? Well, I'll just tell you the one I bought last night, and that was probably because I didn't have it as a kid, but
hmm
I love it now, even though it's not healthy at all. But Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. Okay. Okay. Give him some Lucky Charms love. I love that. Good.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't. I don't think they even make the cereal that I loved as a kid anymore. But it was Sugar Crisp, and it had like a bear or something on the cover
So
of
they
the
make
cereal.
so there was Sugar Crisp and Honey Smacks, right? Because I think it was Kellogg's and Post had the same thing.
Yeah,
Because I've got some Smacks upstairs. I think it's Smacks anyways, because
yeah,
I love those as well too. That's
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very,
That was
very
that was the
big
one
fan.
I had as a kid was that one. But
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
later years, the fact that I didn't get to eat them much as a kid,
yeah,
I've kind of gone into Lucky Charms. So like
yeah.
I wouldn't even really call it marshmallows, but whatever that stuff
Yeah,
is,
you're right, man. Marshmallow like, I guess maybe. I
yeah,
will tell you that
yeah,
my favorite snack in the evening, and I haven't had it in a minute, is a bowl of cereal. But some people will do candy or this cereal's
yeah.
my favorite
I've
personally. So
definitely I've definitely had cereal for every meal in a day
heck yeah,
if that's what it called for.
heck yeah, heck yeah. Very pro cereal here.
Yeah.
Um, keeping all that you've learned through life, would you rather live forever or rewind time once?
Oh, rewind time once.
hmm
Yeah, yeah. I probably would rewind time once, probably.
Okay. Okay. Would you, if you rewound time, and you don't have to share it if it's too personal, of course, but is there something that already kind of triggered you, like this is why I want to do it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd probably say I mean, my brother passed away in 2014,
hmm
and it was a car accident. And
Okay.
so, I don't know as far as like how history or futures are going to be, as far as like if something is just doomed to do that no matter what. But it's like if I had I guess, the option to be able to prevent that, I would definitely do that because
hmm
he was basically the youngest of the three of us,
hmm
and I would love for him to still be here and seeing all the stuff that I've gotten into, and that potentially he would have been into by this point in time too. He was a huge like he was what sort of got me into the whole like Warhammer side of things. He was a big like
Wow.
Warhammer trainer and stuff, and
Really?
so I kind of like grew up reading more, get more into Warhammer because of him.
Man, okay. Okay. Appreciate you sharing. Um,
Yep, yep.
how about controversial hot take? It can be something that you will die on the hill. You know, you're one of the only few that think this, agree with this, whatever it is. It could be whatever it is, literally. You know,
It,
could be
it,
that
it'd
Luke
probably be.
Skywalker's the worst hero ever. Whatever it is. What's your controversial hot take?
I mean, I don't. I'd say as far as hot takes go, I mean,
Please
I
don't say
actually
that
like.
GoBots are better than Transformers, but go on.
No, I was gonna say I actually like the Twilight movies, but I don't know if that's a hot take or not. But
I
you
think there's a
know,
lot of women out there that probably feel what you're putting down on that one, but
I
that's
mean,
fair.
it's just been a moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. You just like vampires. It's fine, right? Like who,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, it's like I grew up in the '70s and '80s. I saw a lot of terrible movies,
yeah.
so it's like nothing that people put out these days is as bad as what they think it is. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And
I get what you're
so,
saying.
anyway, it's like I'm a complicated guy. What can I say?
That hey, that we like complicated people. That's perfect. Perfect. All right, last of the gauntlet questions here. You're on Earth last day because you just found out tomorrow that the asteroid is going to hit Earth because clearly Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck did not do their job, and you're going to die tomorrow. So you get to choose 5 meal items and 2 drinks. Go ahead.
5 meal items and 2 drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say the drinks first. I'd probably have a Coke because that's my typical Coke. Or typical drink is
It's
my
very
number
southern of you,
one.
Brian. It's very southern of you.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm kidding, but I'm not.
I was raised in a Coke house, not
Yeah,
Pepsi. So
yeah.
anyway, I'd have a Coke, and then I'd probably have like a Bloody Mary, just because
Okay.
why not?
Why not?
Why not? I don't drink them very often, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like them. And then the five food items you say?
Yep, five items, and it could
Okay,
literally be like pretty close to a meal itself. But yeah, 5 items.
okay. I would probably say my mom's fried chicken
Oh shit. Okay.
because that was the bomb.
Yep.
Um, this pizza place in Pine Bluff, where I kind of grew up in, was called Big Banjo, and they're still around. And so that was kind of like the first place I ever ate pizza. I would definitely get one of those pizzas.
Okay.
And then there's a Mexican restaurant about 30 minutes away that sells this cheese dip that I love to eat. And so I would get the my mom's fried chicken. I would get the pizza from the Big Banjo place. I'd get the cheese dip from Mexico Chiquito.
Yeah.
I would make a beef brisket if I had the time to make it in my oven because I
There you
love
go.
to make
Yeah.
those and cook them
Yep.
in the oven.
Yep.
And the fifth thing would probably be I don't know. I guess a Reese's cup because I love Reese's cups.
Nothing better than Reese's. Period. So
Yeah,
awesome. That's a good lineup, sir. I respect all that. So
because you don't have to worry
excellent.
about tomorrow, right? Because you can eat all of that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you're good.
That's
You're good.
right.
You're gonna be laying on that couch anyways when the asteroid hits. So there you go. Awesome. Well, that's it for all my questions at the very least. So I at least want to tell you I appreciate you being on here. This has been a great time. I got to learn a lot about you as well. Thanks for having me on Into the Toy Box not long ago. That was a great time to do that as well. The World Making Crew was the first kind of like community that I got acquainted with, I think, in the toy realm. Thanks to Zilla. And you're definitely one of the friendliest people out of that entire crew. So I really appreciate
Well,
that.
thank you.
Like I said, I appreciate what you do. I love your content. I love your photos. I really enjoy a lot of your perspective that you talked about here as well too. You got some really good mantra that I think that you shared as well. So, and of course, like I said, I love hanging on Sundays when I'm able to catch Into the Toy Box with you guys.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. And thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
inviting me on this show too. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And now, once I tell everybody, once they're on here to go through the questions and the Q&A, that means any further content going forward, whether it's topical or just to have on and talk about other stuff, we can talk about topics and other things. So I definitely look forward to, sometime in the future getting you back on here for
Yeah,
just
for
more
sure. Yeah, and we'll
more
definitely
quick
have
back and forth. So
yeah, we'll have you on the show again as well.
I appreciate
It's
that.
one of the things about the show is it's like I want to get like as many people on as I can, but
Mhm.
it's just there's so little time, and
Yeah.
it's hard to try to get everybody with schedules
Hmm.
and stuff. And so if I've not got you on, it's not because we don't want to. It's just you
I
know
totally
just
get that.
time constraints and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm. No, well, I think it's fair at this point to kind of pause for me for a second and have you promote yourself and your content and shout out all your stuff, and I'll have like all those links in the description once this comes out and posts sometime either tonight or tomorrow. So go ahead
Okay.
and tell everybody where to find you and your stuff.
So tomorrow, well, on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel, out the Outermultiverse, we have a show called Into the Toy Box, and we do it almost every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. My co-host is Beta Ray Bob. Everybody knows Bob. And actually, tomorrow we are doing a sort of a collab of sorts with a few other streams because tomorrow is going to be 118, and we're going to do 118th day
That's
tomorrow.
awesome.
So
It's awesome.
the first part of it will be Wilhelm's and Bob will do their show. I think at 2:30 Eastern, um, and I'll be on that show for a little bit as well. And we'll do my show or Bob's show. We'll do Into the Toy Box tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have Wilhelm on that show and Die Hard 3.75, who has a show usually on Sunday nights. He's going to sit in with on both of our shows,
Awesome.
and we're just going to have a conversation about 1/18th figures and such.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'll don't forget, check you guys out on Instagram, Beta Ray Bob, Outer Multiverse as well too. Like I said, I'm gonna have all that links in the description after we're done being live here shortly. So for me, I just want to say thank you to the chats. Probably one of the most active chats I've had on Let's Set the Tone. It's hard to really kind of acknowledge and jump stuff in there, especially when I'm Q&Aing and I'm getting so much good stuff from Brian. But I saw a lot of you guys' comments and add-ins. I was trying to highlight what I could. Great stuff out there. The Star Wars chat was pretty awesome because there's a lot of people back and I don't know if you were catching any of it, Brian. You're spitting
Yeah,
some
I
good stuff,
was.
but I was watching back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's just funny because I know that it's very divisive when we talk sequel trilogy and Disney Star Wars, and that was really fun to see all that. That was so I appreciate everybody's thoughts on that, whether we do or agree or disagree or whatever. But that was pretty awesome.
And
For us, for me, for Banter and Battle, dude right now has been doing some game streaming. He's been finally had more time. It's pretty awesome. He was playing this what is it, Terminator Dark Fate. It's a 2D, looks like Contra or Metal Slug, but from the Terminator 2 movie. He was playing that last night. Wild game to watch. Even the music from the movie, got to check it out. That's pretty cool. So kind of check out some of his content because he did actually put out a spoiler-free review of the Bone Temple, which we all did get to see this week, which was pretty awesome. So peep that. For me, keep an eye out Mondays, of course, here on YouTube. I always put out a short, and on Instagram, you can check out that reel. But I always do Monday updates, just kind of what's going on, what the content looks like for a couple minutes. So it's been doing really well. A lot of good feedback from everybody. I really appreciate that. I wanted something short and consistent, at least weekly. And so far, I've gotten a lot of great feedback on that and positive feedback. I really appreciate that from everybody that is able to like and share those as well. Dungeon Banter is back this Wednesday. You can catch me and Jehovah, and we're going to have on Rooney. She's going to be on with him, and we're going to talk about the ton of different genres of fantasy. There's way more than I knew, and we're gonna break some of those down, some of the more popular, and kind of talk about where things fit. It's more going to be more of an exploration conversation than like a Q&A. And then lastly, next Saturday, another episode of Let's Set the Tone. I'm gonna have the marvelous, the one and only, the
oh, nice.
marvelous, the Fox, the marvelous shots on. We're gonna have him on here. Let's Set the Tone. Yeah, so gonna have a conversation with him and let him sit in the hot seat, and I'm gonna grill him for a little while as well. So, but I appreciate again everybody being here. If you're catching this live or post, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure again to have you on, Audi, Brian, to be able to
Thank
do
you.
this.
Thank you.
This was a
And
good
just so
time. Thank
people
you so
know,
much.
it is hard to run a show and have a chat going simultaneously. So, it's like it's hard to do, especially when you're like having somebody on. So just remember that everybody
It's
knows that though.
it's tricky. It's tricky. You're right. We all try to balance, but I do appreciate the patience, and I definitely appreciate the activity. So awesome. Well, hey, you guys all have a good Saturday, and clearly I'm going to see you very, very soon. Check you. And I'm going to figure out how to close out a show because I haven't done this in a long time because the last time I did it was last year. So